It's time, ladies and gents. Bitcoin is falling down to that $117,000 support level right here, which is one of the things that we were expecting on the last YouTube video. We were talking about how this is a range of resistance, and bam, that's exactly where Bitcoin found a rejection, and it's now returning back down to the bottom of the range. And this is after we've had a deviation here, which is a very, very big deal because you don't typically get two deviations in a row, especially if after that deviation here, you actually manage to rise back to the top of the channel. If that happens, that tells you that when we drop back below the range, that was basically fake price action that's not sticking with the market, and the market then decided that we're going to see the top of the range, essentially, which means that we're still range bound. It means that nothing has actually changed, and now that we've also been validated to tell us that we're rejecting the downside, we don't want to go lower than the low that we punched in, which in this case was 114.7, that gives the market a lot of confidence about what might happen next, which I think is absolutely phenomenal, because I think it really bolsters the support in this range. Now, again, all of this is going to be contingent on the S&P 500, which we're going to take a look at right now in this YouTube video. But before we do continue on, if you're excited for this, if you are appreciating and enjoying this content, our analysis has been so ridiculously accurate throughout this entire market cycle. If you've been enjoying that, then do us a favor and smash up those likes, double check that you're subscribed, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you've got some phenomenal exchanges linked down here. You get free cash when you start trading using any of these links down in the description below. And 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗟𝗪 is particularly interesting because the team is sharing chart setup updates of coins that we're looking at in real time. So that's exclusive to 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗟𝗪 right here. Check that out if you are interested. But let's bring it back. And the situation with the S&P 500 here is still pretty decent, right? I mean, if we take a look at this on the daily, it's a small pullback today for Monday, but it did gap higher when it opened. Nothing too crazy, nothing, concerning here at all. Honestly, there isn't even anything that you can really read into this and get any conclusions from. Other than that, yeah, we didn't start this week off by being bearish, which is pretty good. That doesn't mean that we can't be bearish this week. It just means that the chances of that happening are lower because typically, especially with things like traditional finance, S&P 500, if you are going to have a bearish week, you're probably going to set that precedent on day one, meaning Monday. And that hasn't happened today. So I think that's definitely a good sign for us, telling us that, things could stay healthy for the S&P 500. And of course, if that's the environment that Bitcoin is dropping down to 117K in, then that's really strong. I mean, that's a really, really good sign. Look, I don't like the fact that we haven't seen a pullback on the S&P recently. I don't like the fact that it's been, non-stop trending up for over a month now. These kind of things, I don't want to say they're unsustainable because, like I said, we've done this before, tons of times before for the S&P 500, and it's lasted a hell of a lot longer. I mean, this was more or less a continuous uptrend for 72 days straight with very, very minor pullbacks in between. So we can definitely do this, but the problem is that since it's now also open to get pullbacks, to get some sort of correction, that could really weaken Bitcoin's position. So it's the same risk factors that we were looking at last week in our videos here. But really what this means for Bitcoin is that obviously, yeah, I think that the support level is going to be in play at about 117K. But if Bitcoin does not manage to find support at this level, call it 116.9, whatever, then it's probably because the S&P 500 is continuing to drop at that point. And again, that would really put my eyes down at this level at least. If not, probably even lower down in this $100,000 range, probably toward 102, something like that, which I think would be a much more reasonable level to see Bitcoin pulling back to. Honestly, I think if Bitcoin loses this range, 110, it's just, I don't think it's going to be strong enough support to keep Bitcoin higher. But obviously, I think we will find that support as the price gets lower, and there's just so much liquidity down here that the market can kind of benefit from to produce a bounce. So that's going to be something that I'm kind of watching out for as things continue to evolve in this market here. But really, really good stuff, though. Nonetheless, Bitcoin dominance has been fluctuating a little bit. It fell down to a low of 60.7, and now it's back up to a high of 61.25. Nothing particularly crazy to read into this. I mean, Ethereum got a little bit of a breakout, and that didn't really work out for it for Ethereum. Solana had a nice, really big pop here a few days ago, and it's now kind of just, I don't know, consolidating almost. Similar price action against the dollar as well. I think a lot of these coins are in really, really nice positions here, so this is definitely the kind of thing that we've been posting about on LevX already with those exclusive chart setup updates. If you want to see how the team is kind of looking to navigate these setups, then with actual, like, I mean, this is quite actionable stuff that we're looking at. Then those updates are being posted right there in LevX, and it's free, by the way. It's completely free. It's a great exchange. It's the same kind of exchange that you're already used to. You get a ton of bonuses and stuff like that when you do sign up, and of course, one-to-one, proof of reserves, great liquidity, all that good stuff that you're expecting these days in 2025 in crypto. But here's Trump coin here, finding a little bit of resistance off this $10 level, starting to fall down a little bit. So I think, there's a nice little pocket down here. I don't really think the support level is going to hold. It's already failed. So I don't really think it's going to, hold up here for too long. It definitely could end up seeing a bit of a further drop. And it certainly looks like that's what Bitcoin wants to do as well, right? I would be a little bit surprised if Bitcoin stopped dumping here rather than coming down just a few $100s further to its actual support level. We'll see. I mean, it definitely could just punch in a low over here. That would also make sense. But I just don't want to say that I think that's super, super likely. I think that there's also, some pretty good arguments to make that, Bitcoin could kind of revisit the bottom of that range, and basically produce more of a full reversal there before continuing going higher. But I think the fact that we've seen Bitcoin's dominance creep back up in line with this drop is really, really good, because that's telling us that liquidity is flowing out of altcoins and into Bitcoin, which is going to be very, very useful if Bitcoin goes up. The thing you need to keep in mind, ladies and gents, is you want this number to be as high as possible if you're interested in making money in altcoins, because the harder it rises, the harder it's going to fall potentially, right? I don't see the future. I don't know if that's a fact, but that's how it's gone literally every single time before in Bitcoin's history. So I definitely believe that that's going to continue, being how this market operates. And so, yeah, you really, really do want to see this 61% number get as high as possible. We did peak, by the way, obviously up here at like 65, 66, which is honestly quite impressive. And, with that in mind, I think clearly if we can get this number even higher, we stand to see substantially better returns in the altcoin market. And the good news at this point, I think, is that it doesn't even have to be too uncomfortable, right? At this point, it doesn't necessarily mean that altcoins are going to crash. It probably, I think, just means that Bitcoin is going to outpace these altcoins. Altcoins are going to more or less hold their value against the dollar. They might rise by a couple of percentage points, but Bitcoin probably still the lion's share of those gains. I'm talking macro, right? I mean, on a micro level, you can point out these things and say that Sammy's wrong, but obviously that's, completely lacking perspective, which is, normal in my world, right? People who disagree with me tend to be pretty mentally challenged in some ways, or multiple ways, and so they'll kind of point out to little moves like this and say, yeah, it's alt season now, and no, the fuck it isn't, buddy. No, it's not. Little Jimmy, it's just a pullback in Bitcoin's dominance, and I still don't believe that this is the legit move. I mean, this could turn into the big alt season. Obviously, we've had people saying that on every single drop of Bitcoin's dominance so far. And this one is definitely the most likely to be that. This is also the first time that I've said this could be alt season. I didn't say that at any point previously. So I definitely think that the pendulum is swinging now. I think that the probabilities are shifting in other directions at the moment. So that's going to be something that we'll continue to watch out for as this market continues to evolve and progress here. But yeah, brilliant stuff for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can find support off this 117K level, then again, we're looking at targeting the top of this range again, which is going to be at about 120K. And of course, this resistance level can't hold on for too long. It's not been broken really for about 12 days now, but if we count how many attempts that was across those 12 days, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attempts here. And so number 8, obviously, you might expect that to break. Let's just look at support really quick. So from the time that we kind of faked out, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over here. So we're definitely testing the top of this range more than we're testing the bottom of this range right now, which is really, really good. We were testing the lows a little bit too much, but I think that this is kind of swinging this back in our favor now. And of course, like I said, with a prevailing upward trend, you're typically just going to expect that trend continues. So, attempt number 9, is number 9 going to really hold? I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think that probability drops down quite aggressively, quite quickly. So I'm definitely just looking to see if this thing can skyrocket from here, and then start hitting some of those targets that I've been describing to you on this YouTube channel. For example, 130, 140K. There's a couple different ways to draw this, but, I think one of the ways that's pretty reasonable at this stage is just going to be, drawing that flagpole out, and then extrapolating a target from the low that we set over here. And again, that gives us a speculative target at about $139,000, which is, these are the ranges that we keep on seeing in the analysis that we're doing on this YouTube channel. So I definitely think that that's going to be in play and something that the market might end up using. And just, by the way, returning back down to this midline would be so good for the market. I mean, midlines are usually really, really important in parallel channels. Take a look at how, it's not a coincidence that this shit works out really well, right? Take a look at how often we're finding, support and resistance both off these levels here, off these midpoints, and we've obviously been doing that throughout this little channel as well. So definitely, would love to see a kind of reversal at that midpoint there. I think that would really make this market quite a bit stronger than it is already. So a little bit more quick updates that I'm posting on this channel now. Let me know how you guys feel about this. Hopefully, this is good too. I know a lot of you have been asking for shorter updates, but now they're here. So how do we feel about them? And obviously, yeah, I'm pretty much done here. So just make sure that you are smashing up the like, subscribe, ticking the bell, all that good stuff. Obviously, exchanges down below. Check them out if you're not from a restricted region. But with that, ladies and gents, we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.